This is the second part of the series on the executive department. Now we go to the matter of the temporary vacancy in the presidency during the term. So for a full discussion on this, you may go back to the discussion in the video on Congress and the role of Congress. There may be a temporary vacancy when the president declares himself that he is unable to perform his function, unable to discharge the powers and the duties of his office. So when he makes a written declaration, the vice president steps up and acts as president. The second manner in which this happens is when the members of the cabinet themselves write Congress um, expressing their observation that the president is unable to discharge the functions of his office. So what happens here? The vice president acts as vice as acts as president, but this may be disputed by the president, and when he disputes it, the vice president steps down. The president takes back his posts, and the third manner may come into effect. No, that the cabinet may assert on the disability of the president, and this is where Congress votes by a two-thirds vote of all the members of Congress voting separately when they act on that second written declaration of the cabinet. When they insist na talaga, the president is suffering from, is unable to function the duties of his office, no? The functions of his office. For an example, you read the case of Estrada versus Desierto. By virtue of EDSA DOS, people's uprising during EDSA DOS, Estrada stepped down from his office. When he stepped down from his office, he wrote a statement, a press release of his final statement, where he emphasized that he was leaving the palace without the mention of his inability and intent of reassumption. He expressed his gratitude to the people. He assured that he will not shirk from any future challenge. It was a letter of resignation, actually. So Estrada here, in this case, wanted to go back to office, no? And considers perhaps that that was simply a temporary disability. But according to the Supreme Court, looking at the totality of the circumstances plus the tenor of his letter, it was already relinquishing his office. And according to the Supreme Court, what leaps the eye from these irrefutable facts is that both houses have recognized Respondent Arroyo as president. Implicitly clear in that recognition is the premise that the inability of petitioner Estrada is no longer temporary. Congress has already rejected petitioner's claim of inability. So dili na siya di na siya temporary inability or disability, but it was actually his permanent relinquishing of his office. If the president becomes seriously ill, the public must be informed, and the members of the cabinet in charge of the national security and foreign relations and the chief of staff of the armed forces shall not be denied access to him. Learning from the lessons of the previous administrations of Marcos, where his health was made secret to the public, and eventually it was discovered that he was actually, I think, suffering from lupus. How is the president removed? The president may be removed together with the vice president by impeachment for conviction of culpable of violation of constitution, treason, bribery, graft, and corruption, and other high crimes, including betrayal of public trust. Okay. So what are the powers of the president? The president has the following powers. Well, primarily, what is the center is executive power. Executive power is the power to execute laws, no? The president is the head of the state and head of the government, and he functions as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Philippines. As chief executive, the president exercises control over all the executive departments, bureaus, and offices. So primary is his executive functions. Altogether, he has also his commander-in-chief functions, but as the chief executive, he has control over the executive departments, bureaus, and offices. The case of Marcos versus Manglapos is interesting because it says that um, well, this case has got something to do with the desire of the Marcoses to return to the Philippines, banning travel of the Marcoses back to the Philippines. Could that be among the powers of the president? President, that the president, according to the Supreme Court, has residual or unstated powers. According to the Supreme Court, by enumerating certain powers of the president, the Constitution did not, or the framers intend that the president shall exercise those specific powers, which are actually also unwritten. No? These are the so-called residual powers. According to the case, um, the president has unstated residual powers which are implied from the grant of executive power and which are necessary for her to comply her duties under the Constitution. The powers of the president are not limited to what are expressly enumerated in the article on the executive department and in the scattered provisions of the Constitution. This is so, notwithstanding the avowed intent of the framers of the 86 CONCOM to limit the powers of the president. So if the Congress has plenary powers, you might as well say that this is the equivalent of the plenary powers of Congress. It's plenary of the president. No? It's plenary in the way that, in such a way that he can perform powers which are necessary to protect the welfare of the public, of the people of the state. Those are the unstated residual powers. Okay. So okay. The executive power includes the power to control executive departments. In Section 17 of Article 7, the President shall have the control of all executive departments, bureaus, and offices and shall ensure that the laws be faithfully executed. That's the power of control. So the power of control is the power to substitute one's own judgment to that of a subordinate. If you have the power of control, you can alter, modify, nullify, or set aside what a subordinate officer has done in the performance of his duties in such a way that um, the president can override the discretion of the members of his cabinet. No, so according to the case um, of Play versus Torres, the president has the authority to assume directly the functions of an executive department. Corollary to the power of control, the president also has the duty of supervising the enforcement of laws for the maintenance of peace and order. This is granted by the Constitution. No? So that's the power of control. He has the power to assume directly the functions of an executive department. If he has the power to assume directly the functions of an executive department, he might as well supplant all the decisions of the department secretaries as well, no? Members of his cabinet. This is the so-called doctrine of qualified political agency, which is all the executive um, and administrative organizations are adjuncts of the executive department, meaning when the heads of offices perform their tasks, they are as if um, performing on behalf of the president, and it's as if um, it's the president himself who acts when the heads of the offices or the department secretaries act. So they are his representatives, no? As if the president himself acts himself. No? So these are valid as if acts of the president unless reprobated by the chief executive. No? So the power of control includes the power to abolish an office. This is the case of Buklod versus executive secretary. And he has also the power to reorganize an office. No? The power to abolish an office normally is led to the legislature. Exception in this case of Buklod, if is that as far as bureaus, agencies, and offices in the executive department, the president's power of control may justify him to inactivate the positions of a particular office. Also to reorganize in the case of Sylvia Banda versus Elmita. The power to recognize the offices and agencies of the executive department in line with the president's constitutionally granted power of control is part of his authority under the Constitution. Now, the president also has only general supervision of local government and autonomous regions, meaning the president has no power over of control over the LGUs and the autonomous regions. Section 4, Article 10 says that the President of the Philippines shall exercise general supervision over local governments. And that in Section 16 of Article 10, the President shall exercise general supervision over autonomous regions to ensure that laws are faithfully executed. Only general supervision. To distinguish control and supervision, control is the power to supplant, nullify, or set aside a decision, while supervision is only the power to oversee that the authority that is supervised is thus his functions in accordance with law. This case of National Liga ng mga Barangay versus Paredes says that um, like the local government units, the Liga ng mga Barangay is not subject to the control of the president or his alter ego. So as the entity exercising supervision over the Liga ng Barangay, the DILG's authority over the Liga is limited only to seeing to it that rules are followed. So general supervision, no? Power of appointment, the president can appoint specific officers, the designation of a person by the person or persons having the authority to discharge the duties of office or trust. That's the definition of what appointment is. The power to appoint is discretionary, meaning you cannot compel somebody to appoint somebody. No? So this case of Flores versus Trilon, this is the singling out or making too specific the appointing authority that who must be appointed. No? So the power of appointment must leave room and discretion to the appointing authority on who shall be appointed. Also on the matter of the appointments that passes through the commission appointments and the other appointments. So president may appoint specific employees or public officers subject to the approval of the CA. You have that in the screen projected. Heads of executive departments, all other appointments whose appointments are vested in the president, chairman, and members of the COMELEC Civil Service, regular members of the Judicial and Bar Council, sectoral representatives. So this is now superseded by the party list. On recommendation of the JBC, members of the Supreme Court and the Ombudsman, and of course of the lower courts as well. Appointment of the Vice President as a member of the Cabinet. This is also part of the President's discretion. When there is no Vice President, he has died or resigned, the President appoints from any of the members of Congress. And there are appointments which are solely by the President. He shall also appoint all other officers of the government whose appointments are not otherwise provided for by law, and those whom he may be authorized by law to appoint. Calderon versus Carale, read this case. Also, Tarosa versus Singson. If the president has the power to appoint, he also has the power to remove, because the power to appoint carries with it the power to remove. There are exceptions when though you have the power to appoint, but the removal is an authority that is lodged elsewhere. Huh? For example, okay, the president may appoint members of the Supreme Court, but they may only be removed by impeachment. So with the judges of the lower court, who may be appointed by the president, but it is the Supreme Court that removes lower court judges. Together with the chair of the and commissioners of the three constitutional commissions, they may only be impeached, though they are appointed by the president, together with the ombudsman as well. No? So what are the limitations on the appointing power of the president? Una is yung restrictions as to the appointment on the spouse and the relatives of consanguinity or affinity within the fourth civil degree of the president. They may not be appointed as members of the COA Civil Service and the COMELEC, the ombudsman, or the secretaries, undersecretaries, or chairman, or heads of bureaus and offices. And there is this election ban, 2 months immediately before the next presidential elections and up to the end of his term. A president or acting president shall not make any appointments except positions that are that need to be filled up because their continued vacancies will prejudice public service or endanger public safety. Read this case of Valenzuela. But this case restricting the appointment of judges within the period of 2 months does not apply to the judiciary. It only applies to the members of the executive department. That's overturned in the Castro versus JBC. Constitutional limitations. The president can make appointments to the Supreme Court 2 months before. Okay. Yeah, this is among the constitutional limitations of appointments. There is what you call regular and recess appointments. Regular appointments happen when the CA, the Commission on Appointments, may still is still required to confirm the appointment because Congress is in session. Recess or the interim appointments take effect immediately, but needs the approval of the CA when the Congress convenes. Temporary designations, you look at Section 17 of the Administrative Code of Book 3. Distinguish ad interim from appointments in an acting capacity. You read the case of Pimentel versus Ermita for that. The acting president also has the limitations on his power to appoint. Appointment extended by the acting president shall remain effective unless revoked by the president-elect or the elected president. And then she is also restricted to make appointments 2 months before the next presidential election. And also on the matter of appointments during a recess of Congress. They are part of the restrictions of the appointing power of the acting president because the acting president can make appointments as well. Executive clemencies, among the powers of the president is to grant reprieves, commutations, and pardons and remit fines and forfeitures. President also has the power of amnesty, subject to the concurrence of Congress. Remember that the clemency powers of the president is not absolute because of like amnesty that requires concurrence of Congress. You also have violations of election laws, rules and regulations that require the recommendation of the COMELEC before the president can make clemencies for such election law violations. So these are the types of um, clemencies. No, you may best understand them in criminal procedure, criminal law: reprieve, commutation, pardon, amnesty, probation, parole. Reprieve is respite or withholding of the sentence for an interval of time, perhaps because, um, for example, if there is death penalty, cannot be carried out because the person who is subjected to that penalty may still be pregnant. What? No? Commutation is the reduction of your penalty or substitution of a lesser penalty. Pardon. Um, then you have amnesty, probation, and parole. Distinctions of this may be best understood in criminal procedure: pardon, probation, um, pardon and parole, pardon and amnesty. Okay. Um, read these cases on the effects of pardon. Okay. For the sanctions of conditions for violations of pardon, you also have the revised penal code for that. Can pardon be given in administrative cases? Yes. If the president can grant reprieves or commutations and pardons and remit fines and forfeitures in criminal cases, according to the case of Llamas versus Orbos, all the more with with administrative cases. Okay. Who can be given amnesty for high? This amnesty is not for any ordinary crimes. This is for high crimes or politically motivated crimes. You can have a better understanding of this in the previous video on the Congress. Can the president pardon himself? There's that argument question whether the president can pardon himself because there was a question about Trump's intent to pardon himself. The Philippines, that is not much of an issue because first, what is there to pardon? Because the president is himself immune from suit. But also, practicality says that proceeding against him while he is in office is difficult because he is the head of office. Qualified political agency says that prosecution of criminal cases, of course, will be prejudiced because the head of the Department of Justice is department secretary is subservient to the president himself. And after his term, his pardoning powers cease to operate. So, what is to pardon when he has no longer the pardoning power? Okay. Self-pardon would also collide with the principle that no one may be a judge of his own case. So let's proceed with the powers of the commander-in-chief on the next video.